Good day, everyone. Join us for an episode where we'll be unpacking the differences between share block schemes, levies, and costs, and sectional title levies and costs. This session is designed to provide valuable insights and deepen your understanding of these two property models. Please note that the information shared in this podcast is intended for general educational purposes only and does not constitute legal or financial advice. We encourage you to consult with a qualified property professional for guidance tailored to your specific circumstances. With that said, let's dive in.
Have you ever gotten that bill, for your flat or townhouse in a complex and just stared at it thinking, what on earth am I actually paying for here?
Oh, absolutely. It's that common feeling, isn't it? Where does the money go? Am I getting value?
Exactly, that little nagging doubt. Well, today we're actually going to tackle that head on. Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping right into those, let's face it, often confusing charges levies, especially in South African property schemes.
Yep. We're going to break down what they cover, look at the really big differences financially speaking between share block and sectional title schemes.
And basically give you the tools to understand and maybe even manage these costs a bit better. Because knowing your levies, it's not just about the rand and cents, is it?
Not at all. It's about knowing your rights, protecting what's likely a huge investment for you.
And just having that peace of mind where you live. So whether you've owned for ages or you're just starting to look, this one's definitely for you.
And just so you know where we're coming from, we've gone through a whole bunch of expert articles, legal bits and pieces from property and law firms.
Right. Trying to get a really solid, well-rounded view of this whole thing.
Precisely. To make it less murky.
Okay, let's dive in. First up, levies, contributions.
Yeah.
We hear both terms. Are they basically the same thing when we're talking community schemes?
Yeah, pretty much. In the legislation, they're used almost interchangeably. Both terms mean the money collected by whoever manages the scheme.
Like the body corporate or the share block directors.
Exactly. It's the pool of funds they use to actually run the place, keep it maintained, managed, all that jazz.
So it's like a collective pot.
Yeah.
But it's not just one big slush fund, right? I've heard about administrative funds and reserve funds. Let's start with the admin one. What's that really covering?
Right, the administrative fund. Think of that as the scheme's operational budget, the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
It covers the ongoing repair, maintenance, management, basically keeping the common property ticking over.
So like cleaning the hallways, gardening.
That plus rates and taxes for the common areas, the electricity for the corridors, water for the gardens, any shared gas or sanitation services.
What else?
Also crucial things like the insurance premiums for the buildings, paying the managing agent if you have one, the annual audit fees, security costs.
Yeah.
It's pretty comprehensive.
So everything needed to just keep the place running smoothly week to week, month to month.
Exactly. And it also covers any sort of operational losses the managing body might run into.
Okay, that handles the now. But buildings need long-term planning too, right? Big expenses pop up eventually. Is that where the reserve fund comes in?
You got it. The reserve fund is specifically for that future planning. It's the savings account for the big, non-routine maintenance and repair jobs on the common property.
Like what sort of things?
Think major stuff. Repainting the whole complex, replacing the roof after 20 years, maybe overhauling the lift system. Things that don't happen often but cost a lot when they do.
And is that fund optional?
No, it's mandated by law. Schemes have to collect money for this reserve fund, and there are rules about how much to make sure they're not caught short later on. Avoids those sudden, huge special levies, ideally.
Right. Speaking of specific costs, what if someone has, say, exclusive use of a garden patch or a parking spot? Does that affect their levy?
Yes, it usually does. If you have exclusive use rights over a part of the common property, that garden, parking bay, maybe a storeroom, you typically pay an extra contribution for that specific area.
Why is that?
Fairness, really. That extra payment covers the costs tied just to that area, its share of rates, maybe insurance, maintenance, utilities, if applicable. The person who gets the exclusive benefit pays the associated costs.
Unless the rules say something different.
Correct. The scheme's rules could specify otherwise, but that's the general principle.
Okay. And I think you mentioned developers sometimes pay extra too.
Yeah, if a developer still has the right to build more units or extend the scheme, they have to chip in extra for the costs linked to their development rights on the common property.
Okay, so we know what levies cover. But the big question for most owners is still, why is my levy this much? And why does it go up? You mentioned participation quota, or PQ. That sounds key.
It is absolutely fundamental. Your PQ is basically your slice of the pie, your undivided share in the common property.
And what does that PQ number actually do?
It determines a few really important things. 1, your share of the levies and any debts the scheme might owe. 2, the value or weight of your vote when votes are counted by value, not just one owner, one vote.
Okay, so it affects your costs and your sales. How do they figure out that PQ number?
For most residential schemes, it's pretty straightforward. It's based on the floor area of your unit, your section, as a percentage of the total floor area of all the sections combined.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. Let's say your flat is 156 square meters, and the total floor area of all flats in the complex is 2,340 square meters. You divide 156 by 2,340, and you get about 0.0666.
So 6.6666%.
Exactly. That's your PQ. And that percentage is used to calculate your share of the levy budget. Bigger flat, generally a bigger PQ, bigger levy share.
Is it always based on floor area?
Mostly for residential, yes. Commercial or mixed-use schemes might calculate it differently. Maybe the developer sets it, or it's done proportionally in mixed schemes.
And can that PQ change? What if I build an extension?
Good question. Yes, if you extend your section, its floor area increases, so its PQ goes up. But because the total pie stays the same size, everyone else's PQ actually goes down slightly.
Ah, right.
And because it affects everyone, extending your section and changing the PQs needs a special resolution, a higher level of agreement from the body corporate.
What about those exclusive use areas we talked about? Does my private garden get added to my PQ?
No, it doesn't, because even though you have exclusive use, it technically remains common property, so it doesn't count towards your section's floor area for PQ calculation.
Okay, that covers the regular levies. But sometimes things go wrong, right? Urgent repairs needed that weren't budgeted for. That's when we hear about special levies.
Precisely. Special levies are raised by the trustees, usually via a trustee resolution, for necessary expenses that weren't in the budget, couldn't be foreseen, and really can't wait until the next AGM to be approved.
Like an emergency fix.
Exactly. A burst geyser, flooding multiple units, storm damage to the roof, a main gate motor packing up suddenly, things that need immediate attention.
And who pays that? Is it split like the normal levy?
It is split, usually based on PQ, but the crucial thing is who pays if the property sells. The liability falls on whoever owns the unit at the time the trustees pass the resolution to raise the special levy.
Oh, that's important. So if I buy a flat after a special levy was decided on, but before it's fully paid,
the new owner, that's you in this case, becomes liable for the outstanding portion from the date you take ownership. It doesn't stick with the seller based on when the resolution was passed.
wow, okay.
Yeah.
Definitely something to check when buying or selling then.
Absolutely critical. You need to clarify who is responsible for any current or upcoming special levy payments during the sale negotiation.
And what if someone just doesn't pay their levies on time?
Well, the body corporate can charge interest on overdue amounts.
Could they charge whatever they want?
No, there's a limit. The interest rate can't exceed the maximum allowed under the National Credit Act, and it's usually compounded monthly. So there are rules to keep it reasonable.
Right, now let's shift gears to something you highlighted earlier, the massive difference between share block and sectional title. They might look similar from the outside, but underneath, they're worlds apart, especially financially.
They really are. And it helps to know share blocks came first, before the Sectional Titles Act in '71. They were sort of an early way to let people buy into apartment buildings without actually owning the bricks and mortar directly.
So what is the absolute core difference in what you own and how it's run?
Okay, share block. You buy shares in a company. That company owns the actual property, the land, the building. Your shares give you the right to use a specific flat laid out in a use agreement. No title deed for the flat itself.
Got it. Shares in a company, right to use a flat. And sectional title.
Sectional title. You directly own your specific section, the apartment or townhouse, plus you own an undivided share of the common property, like the grounds, pools, corridors. You get a registered title deed proving your direct ownership.
Big difference. And management.
Also very different. In share block, the company's directors run the show. They make most decisions, often without needing direct approval from shareholders for every little thing.
More centralized control.
Definitely. Whereas in sectional title, all the owners together automatically form the body corporate. That's the governing body. Owners vote on major decisions at AGMs, elect trustees to handle day-to-day stuff. Much more direct owner involvement.
Okay, the ownership and control are clearly different. How does this play out with levies?
Yeah.
Why do they often seem so different between the two?
This is where that ownership structure really bites. In a share block, your levy covers all the company's costs. Yes, maintenance, rates, taxes, but potentially also the company's mortgage on the entire building.
Wait, the whole building's bond payment could be part of my levy?
It can be, yes, because the company owns the property and likely has a bond on it. So the company's loan repayments can form part of the budget funded by shareholder levies.
That sounds risky. What if other shareholders don't pay their share?
That's the big risk. If enough shareholders default on their levy portion that covers the company's bond, the entire property could be at risk of foreclosure because the loan is over the whole asset owned by the company.
Yucks. So your fate is tied to everyone else paying their share of the company's debt.
In a sense, yes, for that underlying bond. It makes levies potentially higher and less transparent, and your individual ability to influence those specific costs is lower.
How does it compare to sectional title levies then?
Much simpler, generally. Sectional title levies mainly cover the common property costs and services we discussed: maintenance, insurance for common areas, admin, reserve fund. Crucially, each owner is separately responsible for their own municipal rates and taxes on their unit and their own mortgage bond on their unit.
So if my neighbor defaults on their bond,
It's their problem and their bank's problem. Only their specific unit is at risk. It doesn't directly threaten the whole scheme or your ownership. Much lower risk profile for the individual owner.
okay, that distinction alone is huge. What about other financial stuff, like getting a loan to buy one of these?
Massive difference there, too. Banks are generally quite hesitant to finance share block purchases. You'd need a specific share block loan, often with tougher conditions, higher interest, bigger deposit, and you pledge your shares as security, not the property itself.
And sectional title.
Much easier. They qualify for standard home loans, mortgage bonds, just like a freestanding house. Banks are very comfortable with them. This makes them way easier to buy and sell.
Does that affect the price you pay?
Absolutely. Sectional title units usually sell for significantly more, sometimes 25%, even 30% higher than a comparable share block flat in the same area. The direct ownership and easier financing make them more desirable.
Wow. Okay, and you mentioned something earlier, particularly relevant for pensioners: rates and rebates. How does that work?
Right. This is a really important practical difference. With sectional title, because you own your unit directly, the municipality rates your unit individually.
Okay.
This means you, the owner, can qualify for any municipal rebates offered, like the general residential rebate, and importantly, the additional rebate for pensioners owners over 60. That can be a substantial saving directly off your personal rates bill.
And share block.
Remember, the company owns the property, so the municipality bills the company for rates on the whole property. Individual shareholders, even if they meet the age criteria, cannot claim those personal municipal rebates, including the pensioner rebate.
So a pensioner living in a share block misses out on potentially significant rate savings compared to owning a sectional title unit.
Exactly. It's a major financial disadvantage for older residents in share blocks.
What about transfer costs when buying? Any difference left there?
There used to be an advantage for share blocks, but not anymore. Transfer duty now applies to buying shares in a share block company, just like standard transfer duty applies to buying a sectional title unit. So that potential cost saving is gone.
Okay, given all these differences, especially the control aspect in sectional title, what can owners do to keep costs down? And what if you have a dispute, maybe about a levy increase in either type of scheme?
For sectional title owner, your power lies in participation. Use your vote at the AGMs and special general meetings. You get a direct say in approving the budget, questioning expenses, electing competent trustees. The more owners get involved, the better the scheme is usually run, which can help manage levy increases.
So democracy in action, basically.
Pretty much. And the rules often require higher levels of consensus, like special or unanimous resolutions for bigger financial decisions, giving owners more collective power.
But what if things go wrong? You disagree with a charge, the trustees aren't responsive. Where do you go? Is court the only option?
Thankfully, no. There's the Community Schemes Ombud Service, the CSOS.
CSOS, what do they do?
They're a statutory body set up specifically to resolve disputes within community schemes. That includes sectional title, share block companies, homeowners associations, retirement villages, the lot.
And it's easier than going to court.
Much. It's designed to be cheaper, quicker, and less formal. You can lodge disputes about financial issues like levy calculations or disputes over payments, governance problems, management issues, repairs, anything related to the scheme's rules or conduct.
So if you think your levy is unfair or the money's being mismanaged, CSOS is the place to turn.
Definitely. It's a vital resource for owners in any community scheme who feel their concerns aren't being addressed internally.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground. The key takeaway seems to be this stark difference. Sectional title means direct ownership, direct control via the body corporate. Share block is indirect ownership via shares, with more centralized company management.
And those structural differences have huge knock-on effects on everything from your levy calculation, your exposure to risk, your ability to get finance, your resale value, and even your eligibility for rates rebates.
So the message is, know your scheme type, understand what you own, how it's run, what your levies cover, and what your rights are.
Absolutely. Being informed is your best defense and your best tool for managing costs. And knowing about resources like CSOS gives you a path if things go wrong.
It really empowers you, doesn't it? Not just as someone paying bills, but as an active participant in your living environment.
Sure.
It makes you think, though, as more of us live in these shared communities, how does really understanding these structures help us balance our individual needs and control with the shared responsibilities we have?
That brings us to the end of today's Levies Explained discussion. We hope you found it informative and useful as you navigate the world of property investment and ownership. Remember, while we aim to provide clarity and insight, this content is for educational purposes only. Be sure to seek personalized guidance from a qualified property specialist for your unique circumstances. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it and don't forget to leave your questions and comments. We're always ready to explore new topics for future episodes.
Until next time, stay informed and empowered.